Interpretación. Si ocupan interpretación, por favor, levantan la mano. Gracias.
Okay, 7 o'clock, let's go ahead and call to order. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, welcome to March 13th board meeting. Next up is item C, approval of the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, next up is comments from the public. Mr. Superintendent.
From the listening session, we'll review those first. Had a parent comment on concern about the central project for HVAC, its cost, marginalized students, how we represent them, also middle school sports versus HVAC in the school. Second parent commented on the curriculum at Lafayette and whether it's inclusive for her child. Had a comment from a behavior support employee at Sunrise, lack of training or implementation of training, room clears, their effect on kids, particularly the room the students are removed to, called the beach. Comment from a citizen, noting that good things are happening, that the board is not the specialists, and that they should trust the experts and leaders. Had another parent comment on education, unfunded mandates. It was more of a question really about that. Had a young student from South Albany give a speech in public, had interviewed students at South Albany, among other things, bathrooms, the availability of hygiene products, because rooms or bathrooms were not always restocked and cleaned. Another comment from a special education staff about training needed and shortage of staff as well at that school. Another citizen commented that they wanted more board discussion and more transparency, in particular, the upcoming budget process. Comment from a parent, South Albany High School improvements are necessary. The recruitment of athletic director, recruitment of coaches was desired. Another parent commented on curriculum, concerns about curriculum, lack of personal finance, had concerns about the health curriculum, the sex ed, wanted more nutrition, for example, taught in the health class. Another parent commented on the things that had been said to his child throughout so far their school experience in the Albany schools. Another citizen, I believe, spoke also about the advocacy and protection of those students. And then finally, a parent spoke about their experience with their students in our schools, and that they would want that that people have even stopped attending this Parents of Black Students meetings because they feel like they are not seeing new information, and there is some acceptance of the behavior without real action. Comments submitted prior to the meeting. Comment number 1 makes the point they support the assistant superintendent contract renewal. Comment number 2, the assistant superintendent contract renewal is supported. Comment 3, the support of the contract renewal is recommended. The comment number 4, support of the assistant superintendent. Comment number 5, express appreciation for Superintendent Gardner's leadership. And comment number 6, support of Assistant Superintendent Harlan. That is the summary of the public comments.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Next up is board business. Arab American Heritage Month proclamation. Arab. My apologies. Okay. Proclamation recognizing Arab American Heritage Month, Greater Albany Public Schools Board of Education, proclamation number 2022/23 TAC 11. Whereas Greater Albany Public Schools is enriched by the diversity of its students, staff, and families it serves, and proud to be a district where Arab American students can excel academically and make valuable contributions to the vitality of our schools. And whereas people of Arab descent have shared their rich culture and traditions within our schools with neighbors and friends, while also setting examples of excellence in public service in the private sector, such as professions like medicine, law, business, education, technology, government, military service, culture. And whereas Arab Americans are resilient with strong family values, are dedicated to education and diversity, have added strength to our great democracy. And whereas Arab Americans have also enriched our society by sharing in the entrepreneurial American spirit that makes our nation free and prosperous. And whereas the history of Arab Americans in the U.S. have overcome misconceptions, bigotry, and anti-Arab hate in the forms of bias crimes and speech. And whereas issues such as civil rights abuses, harmful stereotyping, and bullying must be combated in the forms of education and awareness. And whereas Arab American people have played an invaluable role in advancing and enriching our schools and districts' teaching and learning spaces. And whereas the incredible contributions and heritage of Arab Americans have helped us build a better schools and more diverse nation. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Greater Albany Public School Board of Education proclaim April 2023 as National Arab American Heritage Month, adopted this 13th day of March, signed by myself and our superintendent. Okay, next up is superintendent's comments.
So I'll limit my comments mostly to the budget, and I think that some of the questions earlier tonight were related to that. I believe we have that coming up as a shared document. Ready to go? Okay. Just in general, we have several things going on. I have really appreciated the comments that the principals have had over the last 4-5 board meetings. I think that showing you guys data has begun to raise our understanding of what's going on in the schools and the work that's being done to move kids ahead. And I'm really gratified by the questions that you guys ask and the information that principals are willing to share. They are working right now towards having 3 goals for next year that will be stated in measurable terms, and we'll have plans supporting those. And my hope will be that after we have presented those goals this spring, that those will become the basis of the presentations to you throughout the next year at meetings. And we'll work as well, I believe, to make you all aware of the goals that have been set once they have been set this spring. And I want to compliment Sue and Stafford for their work at the levels meeting to work with those people. And we're also going to be making sure that the directors will also show with 3 goals and that they will present them to the principals this spring. Hopefully by the end of May. We're tentatively looking at the alt meeting in May to do that. But first and foremost, we have a lot of work ahead of us on the budget process, and that looks really small. It's the cost of going on the road. We are right now in the process of learning and building the inputs to the budget. And we are right now where it says March. We are in the process of running formulas and getting ready to go into April. We anticipate that we'll have a budget by about the last week of April, that we will have built out the budget. Let's go to the next slide, please. So I have a number there in red, but you can see that the 2021 to 23 biennium, which is a 2-year funding cycle that the state does, has us currently at $28.62 billion in the state's general fund. The revenue or the general fund proposed for the next 2 years is 25.19, which is a significant loss of revenue. 2025-27, the 2 years beyond that, show an increase to 32 million, and that's current. The state of Oregon has assessed that the risk of recession in the near short term is diminished, but 2024 will actually continue to have some risk of recession. The big drop in the revenue in those 2 years in the middle that shows the red number is because there will be a kicker of $3.9 billion back to taxpayers. Let's go to the next slide. Currently, we have several fiscal challenges. Employee compensation. We heard it tonight several times at the listening session that our employees are struggling, and we have a commitment that we are going to work with both unions to make some adjustments to those scales. Workforce is the number one issue in every company in Albany, and it is certainly our issue as well. The challenge will be to deal with inflation and rising costs with that lower number. We have a curriculum adoption that you are going to hear about tonight, but not a purchase tonight, but just a curriculum adoption process update. We have student technology. We bought a lot of computers here during COVID. They will all go out of date at the same time. We're going to have to work on that. Staff technology, we have the same issue. We have a lot of staff technology that has not been, thank you, Rob. We have a challenge with our desktops and our Chromebooks, both. We gave staff laptop computers during COVID, but we did not attend to updating the computers that are in their rooms. We heard tonight about custodial, and we know that we have to improve the number of custodians in this district. We have not increased the FTE for custodians in this district since 2016. We have increased our square footage 20%. Food service costs. We have spent this winter working on looking at how we might improve the meals that are offered, and that will also be proposed to come at a cost. Finally, high school success, which is Measure 98, funding from the 8th to the 12th grade for CTE, grad rate improvement, and accelerated learning and college credit, has a lot of staff in it. That fund will be impacted by the increases to employee compensation. The SIA fund as well will be impacted by employee costs that will increase. Let's go to the next slide. 2-year budget plan. Whatever we do this year as we build the budget, we will be thinking about how we can budget both in 2023-24 and in 2024-25 so that we can bring across as many programs as we can, and that school is going to look like it's the same experience for kids. That will be a very important thing. You will note that in the 2025-27 biennium, the goal will be that by then we will have a sustainable budget. Last year, there was no money in the budget for curriculum. There was no money in the budget for technology. So we're going to have to find a way to put those in, as well as take care of our employees and staff our buildings correctly. Next slide, please. The priorities for cost management. This Thursday, we are going to work in ALT, which is our all leadership team, all the directors in the district and all the administrators in the district, to gather input on priorities and have a discussion about how we might find possible efficiencies in this budget that don't hurt kids and allow us to continue to meet all of the requirements for school districts. There's a great discussion this morning about computers for staff. We need to understand what the curriculum requirements are. We need to understand what our online school Canvas can do and what we need to be able to do that. So it is a very complex and challenging process, and we are going to have to work our way through this over the next 6 or 7 weeks. We will regularly update the board on those priorities and how we're thinking to solve those problems and make sure that kids' experience is first. The budget must give students the best experience possible over the next 2 years. It must support staff and student learning, and it must support the strategic plan priorities, equitable outcomes, social and emotional supports, rigorous and engaging instruction. Next slide, please. Here's the challenge. We have heard that the governor's budget is $9.9 billion. Right now, as we look at that number, GAPS has $121 million, roughly, from a $9.9 billion budget. The current year's second year level and we were at 9.3, is at 121, 252, so 121 million and change. So in essence, even though we have a 9.9 billion increase, we have roughly the same number to start with many things that are looking for inclusion in this budget. And there are several reasons for that. One of the issues is we have gone from, in 2018-19, in a growing community, we have declined from 9,550 kids to approximately 9,100 kids. And so that number is certainly a reduction. At the same time, the state has declined from 670,000 possible students to 635,000 possible students. And those are reflected there. For each 100 million, 9.9, for example, increasing to 10 billion, Albany will get 700,000 per year. So a funding level of 10.3 billion would equal 124 million and change. Next slide, please. Cost to consider. Of that 120 million, about 82% of that budget is staff. An increase in pay to certified and to classified is the single biggest increase. We do not have exact numbers yet. We are bargaining. That is yet to be determined. The K-12 math curriculum is proposed somewhere between 1.8 million and 3 million. High school language arts, delayed from last year, is 500,000 approximately. Increase in custodial. Each custodial 1.0 FTE, full-time job, equals about $70,000. So 5 of those would equal $350,000. Chromebooks, for us to remain current in Chromebooks, estimated 600, maybe as high as 800,000 per year. Staff computers, 500,000 per year for the next 2 years, and we're stuck there. Our computers are going to lose their operating system, which is Windows 10. They've been around a long time. Food service increases, we are working on that with Sodexo. Those are to be determined. There's one piece of good news there. The ESSER funds have 1.8 million allocated to curriculum, which lifts that off of needing to be funded in the general fund. Next slide, please. So we'll finalize the budget by April 20th to 25th. We will not know at that time what the legislature will do and allocate. That could be as late as June. We will have the audit still needing to be completed and to know the projected ending fund balance for 2021-22, which affects ending fund balance for 2022-23. So what we began this year with will be important to knowing what's left over at the end of this year. We believe there will be about $4 million there, possibly more, over and above the required ending fund balance. And so we'll have to think about how we use that to bridge across. Almost certainly, we will build a budget that will have and be presented to the budget committee an add back list. So there will be what we can afford. And then if the legislature were to improve that number, then we would add back and have a priority list at that time. The same could be said for the audit. Should the audit show that we actually have more funds, we would think about what we would do with that funding and as well as work on the add back list. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Next up, board reports. Board member reports first. Roger?
Might I defer to our South Albany representative before I steal all the good news and good thoughts here?
If you want the students to go first?
Sure.
Okay. Go ahead.
You're thrown under the bus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. First off, we have club updates. Key Club is currently running a hygiene drive with the help of ABC House and trying to get hygiene products to support their children and the communities they help out. We're also making it a competition, so whichever flight class, which are our homeroom classes, donates the most hygiene products will get a pizza party. The South Albany Youth Activism Club is planning a beach day cleanup trip for April 8th and a hike for Earth Day. Currently working on the specific details about that. We're working with the Calpia Watershed Council for funding and possibly making it a joint trip with West Albany. They're also interested in hearing more about the district's existing plans and budget for solar panels, as I briefly brought up last meeting. And FCCLA is competing in state competition this week, March 16th through 18th. So that's this Thursday all the way to Saturday. They're selling St. Patrick's Day treats starting today, actually, and running while supplies last. And also planning a movie night for potential see details worked out in the future. The Art Club and Art Unites Club, or two art clubs, they actually combined, but are still workshopping on a new name and meeting place, as is a recent development. ASB finally finalized a poster of all 13 of the active clubs on South Albany on it, including all their details of advisor, meeting place, what the club is exactly. These 13 active clubs currently include Art Club, Avid Leadership, Drama Club, the Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America, FCCLA, Key Club, Magic Duelist, which is a trading card club, and Mecha, the Poetry and Prose Club, Red Hawks Read Club, the Rolling Dice Club, where they play tabletop RPGs, D&D, stuff like that, and the South Albany Interactive Gaming Association, they mainly play video games. The South Albany Youth Activism Club, and Swarm, which is the South Albany and West Albany Robotics Maniacs, which they're the robotics team that works on joint competitions with South Albany and West Albany and actually meet on West Albany campus. We also have some clubs that are not currently active but are trying to Be Active, which is a business club is trying to start up, GSA Club, and Sources of Strength, led by Miss Lovingood. ASB is also working on a more formal, streamlined process for student-led groups to propose events to admin and get representation on South Albany media channels, such as our school calendar and social media pages. Currently, Drama Club and Swarm have competitions whose dates aren't published, and we're aiming to get them more support from our campus community. From leadership development, Pride Team is working with leadership to run Pride Spirit Week next week, March 20th through 24th. This is a Spirit Week based on the Pride at South Albany, which is our acronym towards encouraging positive academic and social culture on our campus, which stands for perseverance, respect, integrity, discipline, and excellence. And this Pride Spirit Week includes lunchtime activities, which are competitions between the different grades that can earn them spirit points, dress-up days, and more. The RISE program is still looking into reinstating a student store, and ASB and trying to help where they can. And they're also running a clothing drive competition and flight classes with pizza party for the largest donor class. So we have 2 drives going on right now, both with pizza party prizes. For sports, track and field is starting their season strong with an hour-a-thon fundraiser tomorrow. It was essentially where they call up a bunch of friends, family, any known local donors for money to support their program. Tennis, softball, and baseball are still going underway and having gotten most of their recruits now. Basketball, the girls went to the quarterfinals for the first time in over a decade and had a huge send-off for the big game, including a police escort out of town, and where they compete at the Gill Coliseum in Corvallis. The library continues with guest speakers. With today, we had a presentation on microaggressions by a representative from the Oregon Jewish Museum and Center for Holocaust Education. Only select people were in this sample group of students for now, but we're hoping to have another meeting with more attendees, perhaps more students who may need that sort of presentation. The spring band concert happened at the Albany Performing Arts Center at 7 p.m. on February 28th. Spring choir concert happened at 7 p.m. on March 9th. And choirs also at West Albany High School tomorrow from 9 to 2, and at George Fox on Friday. A campus cleanup competition was run by the Flight Club, which is essentially our parent club that helps funding certain events and groups on South Albany on March 1st, whereby different clubs and student groups could help clean up campus in a competition to earn some cash and more funding for their club. Avid Leadership and some other student groups attended the iLead event in Salem on February 25th, and they had roughly 15 students attend this trip, with South being one of the best represented schools present at that conference. We even brought along one very nice West freshman named Andrew. He was the sole representative from West Albany, so we try to make him feel welcome. Red Hawks Rising continues happening at Tuesdays and Thursdays after school, which is an opportunity for students to study and turn in assignments other than their normal class times. And juniors are not excited about taking the SBAC tests coming up soon, and while students are excited at large for spring break. And that will be all for now.
Thank you. Adley.
I believe golf tournaments began today. Tennis also has 2 matches this week, Wednesday at home versus McNary and Thursday in Redmond. West Albany High Steppers go to state this Friday. The High Steppers also had a free event this past Sunday to support and celebrate our seniors before state. Model UN has begun the process of submitting position papers for the conference happening in April. Chess Club hosts open matches, as I like to call them, after school on Thursday. Environmental Club has a trip to the beach coming up planned, also going to Hatfield Marine Science Center or the aquarium. Yearbook just hit its winter deadline and therefore sent out their spread for proofing, and journalism also hit a deadline for the next magazine publication. Leadership also had their senior send-off recently. They threw a little formal dance and dinner to celebrate the seniors in leadership. The blood drive at West Albany was on March 2nd, and there was a great turnout. West is performing The Wizard of Oz this April as the spring musical, and you can purchase tickets online now. West is having their career day this Wednesday, the 15th, and the day is on a special schedule with 40-minute classes. There will be a college night for juniors and their parents on March 23rd at 6 in the West Commons. Counselors will be giving important information on preparing for college admissions. And there will be a presenter from OSU, Office of Financial Aid, giving information on FAFSA, financial aid, and more. And because it's Pie Week this week, there are fun activities that students can earn extra credit for, and a pie eating contest at lunch.
Well done.
Well done. All right, Roger, you ready?
Well, I just, the big event activity for me in the last couple weeks has been attending the South Albany girls state playoff run over there. Actually watched most of their games at Gill, and first game was against Crescent Valley. They're young, they got down early. They hit a shot right at the end of the half, put them up 17-15, and I thought I was on the set of Hoosiers. Really, the community traveled well. A couple thousand people there watching them. Sure, they outdrew anything the Oregon State men's team did this year in the way of attendance. But that's another story, maybe. Just really proud of Mark Cordell. First time in school history that they'd gotten to the state tournament. The school is being recognized both athletically and academically. They won an OSAA award for performance on the field and in the classroom in February. Just a lot of things going on there, and there really is a team in the community supporting the teams on the ball field and in the classroom, and it's neat to see.
Michael, do you have anything?
Yeah, this week I do. On Friday, I visited the Tangent Elementary Family Get-Together event. I think all the elementary schools are doing this throughout the year. It was a great time with kind of a camping theme. Props to Caleb, who is able to spell out the word gargantuan when you're giving a certain amount of letters. I could only do 3- and 4-letter words, so he taught me by a lot. But what I found most interesting, the parents were asked to vote on the kind of subjects they themselves want to learn more about to help their students. And the areas that were given were reading, math, writing, and social emotional learning. And I was pleasantly surprised to see they basically voted equal amounts of each of those subject areas. I would have thought reading and writing would score much higher than math, but so it was just a great time. I think Friday night's the way to go for those. Saturday, I participated with the school foundation I Swim for Kids event. I volunteered there. Once again, Oak Elementary, I think every year they really do a good job of promoting it within their school, and they had quite a contingent this year. But it's a great fundraising event.
Brad?
Nothing to report today.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Eric.
Sorry, on Saturday, I attended the Chamber of Commerce People of the Year Award, and very proud to see West and South both recognized there. And Alexa Gomez from South took the overall prize for Student of the Year. So congratulations to her and the staff that helped her get there.
Yeah, congratulations. A week and a half ago, I went to Oak Grove's event, which was a lot of fun. Congratulations to Oak and their iSwim participation. My apologies to Tangent. I didn't get over there for that, so I apologize for that. One of the things I'd like to say is it seems like we've been having some behavior issues within the school, and I certainly appreciate all the staff's hard work to get through those. We need to correct those behaviors and get kids more in line and support our teachers and staff. So thank you for hanging in there and doing the hard work that you're doing. Committee, community, and school presentations, we have none. Next up is consent agenda. I-1 is contract extensions, renewals, licensed administrators.
These are an extension of the list that was given to you at the last meeting. We are still ahead of the March 15th deadline. This is an addendum.
Do I hear a motion?
I move to approve contract extensions, renewals, license/administrators addendum as presented.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
I-2, contract renewals, extensions, district leadership team.
You have the list in front of you. These are the leadership team. They have, not all of them are licensed administrators under Senate Bill 880, but it has been the tradition in the district to renew at this time.
I move to approve contract renewals, extensions, district leadership team as presented.
Discussion?
We need a second, then we can have
I
discussion.
think Michael wants to.
You want to discuss first? Okay.
Yeah, if that's okay. These are kind of odd things because we are always taught that we hire one person, that's the superintendent. So kind of getting into the employment of other people is tricky, but it is before us and it is a vote. And I just want to know specifically Assistant Superintendent Harlan, it's put down here as a non-renewal, and I kind of want to know why. This community is on our fifth superintendent in 6 years, roughly. I don't know the dates, something like that. And there's been a ton of leadership within, when you look at below the superintendent, ton of leadership changes over the years. So to make this change now, I think I need to know a little bit more. Because from my standpoint, from my perspective, like I said, we only hire and supervise the superintendent, but in her role as assistant superintendent, I've probably worked with Lisa probably as much as any employee. And I got to tell you, there are meetings after meetings after meetings over the last 4 years with us where she is the smartest person in the room. And all those yeah. And those are all on YouTube for people to see. You don't know what you don't know when you become a volunteer member of the school board. And I've just learned a ton from Lisa. But I've also watched her lead us through all kinds of, one of the first things she did is on our agenda tonight, later on, we're going to approve from the city Maple Lawn Preschool. She took that on and took on the district became more involved in pre-kindergarten activities. And we are much more involved in the pre-K arena. And this is all happening in a time when it's difficult. It's exceedingly difficult in the education realm to find quality people. And we all got a letter as part of the public record from Dr. Tim Mills, who was the GAP superintendent from 2018 to 2019. A very eloquent letter. He probably says things better than I can. But he talks about this is a time that calls for great leadership from individuals of the highest caliber. Lisa Harlan is without question that type of leader. I'm sure that's why the Coalition of Oregon School Administrators recognized her this past year for the coveted Excellent Achievement Award, a high honor which underscores Lisa's day-to-day level of commitment to students and the greater Albany Public Schools community. And he goes on. I just want to know why the community wants to know why. It feels like what I asked from the superintendent is to make, and I think the parents that I know ask the superintendent, make the best education decisions. And this feels like more like not the best education decision, but like adults can't work together. That's what it feels like.
So I'll address this. Mr. Chair, I'd like a 5-minute recess.
Sure, 5-minute recess. go ahead and gavel back in. Okay, we had some discussion on I-2.
I have another point. I didn't finish. Just real quick.
Okay.
On that list, it says Javier Cervantes, the director of EDI. He's not a licensed administrator, but the line reads, "No action requested." And I'm just confused. This sounds like a kind of a vague statement that hides what's, for all intents and purposes, a non-extension. So his contract will run out next year as well. And once again, someone who's been praised, both Lisa and Javier put in tremendous work on the strategic plan that we're all going to follow, that we adopted moving forward. So, I just wanted to put his name in there as well.
I have
Roger?
a comment. First, it's important to me, and I think it's important to all of you, that we treat each other respectfully. So I would ask that of you. And so I guess if you can't do that, we're not. I don't have anything else to say. If you're not willing to be respectful during a public meeting, which this.
Be quiet. No,
If I might, I'll offer just this. I'll be very brief. We are here in this position because ORS 342-513 requires us to be. It's that simple. And given the tone and the nature of things, I don't have any comment beyond that tonight.
So since the board doesn't actually make the call on the assistant superintendent, maybe that's not the answer for you to answer, maybe that's a question for Andrew.
But it's a personnel issue. There is no ability to talk about that.
So
Yeah.
tell us why she's not here tonight, tough guys.
Yeah.
All right.
You guys are so tough with your little
Okay.
trash and male
Hey,
egos.
if
You can't even face people as you do them dirty.
if you're not going to be quiet, you're going to be excused. We have to vote. This is a public body, so we're gonna have a vote now. Okay, that's how elections have consequences, and that's what we're doing. Okay, so we're voting.
I'm a well versed in the world of politics. The idea that my child and her friends, the other ones, lost an election in 2021 is just insane. Elections. This is a school district, not partisan elections. I mean, yeah, it's not. Yes, that's not.
Michael, we're
Congress.
voting. That's
Yeah.
how it works.
Well, yeah, we vote, but I'm saying.
Directly with, I want to know why the people who she supports were included on this decision, the people that work directly with her were included. So if it's about her job or her work ethic or her shortcomings that may be there, I'd like to know if the directors were questioned, if her staff was questioned about how that's supported. That doesn't seem very transparent to me, which is what was discussed a couple of years ago about how important that was. I appreciate your smart.
All right.
You guys have that.
And how can you even afford to think about firing your director of equity, diversity, and inclusion after all the comments you got from community members and parents about all the racist activity occurring in this district? How
Okay,
can you even sit there and
we are going to vote now. If you look at it, you will see that no one is being fired. Okay, do I hear a motion?
I move to approve contract renewals extensions, district leadership team as presented.
Do I hear a second?
Let's second the motion.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Okay. Okay. Next up, I3, Memorandum of Understanding, Human Resources Job Titles.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the memorandum of understanding for human resources job title as presented.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Likewise.
Any opposed? I4, personnel, licensed. Do I hear a
Mr. Chair, I
motion?
move to approve personnel license as presented.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I5, personnel, classified.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve personnel classified as presented.
All second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I6, regular board meeting, 2/27/23. Do I hear a motion?
Are those the minutes?
The minutes, yes, sir.
I want to clarify that the minutes reflect that I, in regular session, stated that did not participate in the executive session that was held prior. Do those reflect that?
I believe they do, but let's
I
verify.
believe, but I will check.
I'm looking.
Mr. Chair, would you mind if we postpone minutes to the next meeting?
So they're in there or they're not?
I'm looking.
I'm looking. It says you're not in attendance for the executive session.
Okay.
And
I don't know where we were procedurally.
Chris, does it matter if these are delayed?
What, it matters to me.
We can delay and
I would prefer we approve them tonight.
I think you,
Yes.
yeah. Okay. That's fine.
We could either delay or we could add a sentence to.
It says in here, Director Nyquist was not in attendance for the executive session. Eric, you okay with it? Okay.
I move to approve minutes, regular board meeting 2/27/23 as presented.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, J, old business, integrated guidance.
You will need to move to approve the integrated guidance as presented. This was presented at the last meeting. And again, this is the combination of the 5 state funds, including high school success and the SIA. And it just needs your action. And you will recall we did discuss that these can be amended and adjusted as we move forward into that budget.
Yeah, like, I have some discussion when we get to that point.
Okay.
Go now. Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that was clear that while, you know, if I vote in favor of this, it is for the monetary amount. I believe there's some work that still needs to be done in reprioritizing how that money has been allocated and what we're going to do within the strategic plan. So I just want to make it clear that I think there's some more work to be done on making that more balanced.
I too would say that the SII funds will be something that get viewed and redistributed possibly, but I understand we're just tonight voting on the amount. Anyone else want to make a statement?
In that case, I'll move to approve integrated guidance as presented.
Does this need a motion?
Yes.
It does?
Yes,
Okay.
it does.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Did somebody second that? Oh, Eric did. Thank you. Okay, I didn't hear it.
Next up, J2, interdistrict transfers 2023 school year.
So the board sets the number of transfers into the district from outside of the district. You can see that there are 2 transfer windows there, and we need to establish the number of students that will be given admission to this district. And that is just generally a fairly set number. You'll note that we have cut the number of students in 12th grade. We find that sometimes this does not include homeless students who end up here. We take them immediately regardless. And it also does not allow for any number of seniors. Many times students who transfer into a school their senior year often come credit deficient and are just looking for some way to do that. And so that's the numbers that we'll be setting.
Does this number, is it the same number every year for the most part? Is this really
Yeah,
similar?
there has been a little adjustment there, particularly with the senior number.
Okay,
Yes.
I'm just curious. I haven't
Yep.
seen it before.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the interdistrict transfer information as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Board Policy ACB, all students belong.
So this policy is enhanced a little bit. This is one that came out here a couple of years ago. And at that time, it was primarily focused on the rebel flag, the noose, and the swastika. And that has been broadened in this new definition, name calling using a racial, ethnic, or other slur to identify someone, using degrading language, creating racist or derogatory graffiti or images, drawings. So we have a far greater array of things that fall under the policy as it is now. And this is a second reading, Chris? Okay. And it's to approve.
Have a comment.
Okay, go ahead.
At our listening session today, we had a couple different speakers talk about some of the language that some students are using. And I'm hoping that this is going to help us set some policies to start to address that in a more substantial and effective way, because there's really not a place for that in our schools. And so I'm hopeful that this is going to be a good start. I don't think it's going to be the end all, but I think it's going to be a position of beginning to try to get some additional changes brought in the language that our students are using to refer to each other.
Do I hear a motion?
I move to approve policy ACB as presented.
I second it.
All in favor? Aye. J4, Board Policy GCBDB/GDBDB, return to work.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
I have had several teachers question this policy and not really understand it and why it's being brought forward. I would like to table this until such time as we can get some more information to the teachers so they understand this is a matter of state law and kind of how it's going to affect them, because they've had some real significant concerns. I think so. Oh, is that the wrong one?
I think you're talking about a different one.
Oh, that could be. Apologize. Let me. I thought I had read this and it was the right one. Oh, early return to work. Okay, that's Apologies. I withdraw my motion.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I move to approve policy GCDBB/GDBDB as presented.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
J5, Board Policy IGBAF, Special Education Individualized Education Program.
This is merely a change in the reference law down at the bottom. You can see that there as you look at it. Recommend to approve. Aligns with state law. It's referencing that.
Do I hear a motion?
I move to approve policy IGBAF as presented.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, J6, the Budget Committee calendar is one of the things that came up in the listening session. This is the published when these meetings will happen. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Andy, I think the policy that Brad was talking about isn't up, right? It's not in here. Is that what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay. All right. Excellent.
Reports. Financial report.
Mrs. Nofziger is out ill. We don't have one.
Okay. K2 curriculum adoption update.
So I want to introduce Stacy Lee, who's going to give you an update on that. I want to really compliment Stacy. She has put in a lot of work working with teachers in language arts, mathematics this year. She's also a really committed person to our outdoor school program. She makes a lot of runs back and forth between Grand Prairie and our district office as she shepherds these. She's has just hard duty there, moving materials back and forth for people to look at. And she will now take you through the curriculum adoption process update. Go ahead. Thank you.
Okay. I have a lot to say, so I wrote it out. So I apologize. I'm going to read more than I normally would. Sherry Morris and members of the board, it's been almost a year since I last presented to you, so I'd like to reintroduce myself first. My name is Stacy Lee. I am the K-12 Curriculum Coordinator. I'm also the District Administrator for Talented and Gifted Services and Bilingual Education Programs, as well as the primary district point person for elementary instructional coaches and middle school literacy specialists. I supervise 5 of our district teachers on special assignment. I have a master's degree in teaching English as a second language from the linguistics department at Arizona State University, and most of my teaching experience has been with English language development, with some language arts and social studies as well. I've taught students in 4th grade through graduate school. I've worked in Greater Albany Public Schools for 14 of the last 21 years, with the intervening 7 at Oregon State University. I am the daughter of a 1st grade teacher and the granddaughter of a public librarian. As you may recall, last spring I came to you with recommendations from 3 different content areas: K-8 language arts, 9-12 world languages, and K-12 English language development. Implementing new curriculum is always a challenge for teachers and those supporting them as administrators and instructional coaches. We're seeing important advantages to the new curriculum, though, as evidenced by the quotes here from teachers and principals about the new curriculum engaging students, improving time on task, supporting all students in learning, aiding in the development of communication skills, and saving teachers time. This year we have instructional materials adoption teams meeting to review our options in high school language arts and K-12 mathematics. If you remember, high school had delayed language arts adoption for 1 year, and this is the standard year for math. Every school has representatives on at least one of these teams, and each team has met at least 7 times this year already. We've also solicited input from their colleagues and administrators across the district. Our instructional materials adoption procedure follows board policy IIA and IIAAR for the administrative rule. We are currently on step 4, which is reviewing the options to come to a decision for recommendation. I expect public review to be open no later than Monday, April 3rd. I'm also scheduled to be on the next 2 board agendas with detailed information about the committee's proposals for adoption. Why do instructional materials matter? Ed Reports is a well-respected independent source of information about instructional materials reviews and adoption procedures. They've analyzed and shared research about the impact of quality instructional materials, and I'd like to share key excerpts from their research. Instructional materials influence teachers' decision-making. That instructional materials exercise their influence on learning directly, as well by influencing teachers' instructional choices and behavior, makes instructional materials all the more important. Instructional materials have a direct impact on student learning outcomes. One study showed using a top-ranked program in 4th or 5th grade math can lead to student achievement gains of 3.6 percentile points, larger than the improvement of a typical teacher's effectiveness in their first 3 years on the job when they are learning to teach. Nationally, when teachers don't have access to great materials, they hunt for them online, often leading to inconsistent quality that impacts low-income students of color the most. Teachers spend 7 to 12 hours per week searching for and creating instructional resources, drawing from a variety of sources, many of them unvetted. Nationally, teachers work in schools that have a high proportion of students who receive free and reduced lunch, are searching for materials online at higher rates. The assignments teachers select or create tend to be lower quality than what the district or state provided. The consequences of not having high quality instructional materials doesn't end at high school graduation. Nationwide, 40% of college students take at least one remedial course learning skills they were told they had mastered in high school. A 2018 study found that college remediation costs students and their families $1.5 billion annually. Graduates who opt for a career straight out of high school aren't faring much better, with many employers reporting high school graduates are missing skills they needed to do their jobs well. In Greater Albany Public Schools, high-quality instructional materials are needed to support our strategic plan in several areas. I've highlighted some of those on the following slides. A single plus mark means it's integral to the work. A double plus mark indicates significant impact on district goals. A triple plus mark indicates that high-quality instructional materials are essential to accomplish this district goal. Under equitable outcomes and systems for all students, Objective 1 is about attracting, recruiting, growing, and retaining a diverse and inclusive workforce. High-quality instructional materials are integral to supporting and retaining that diverse staff, so they aren't, for instance, spending 7 to 12 hours per day searching for and creating instructional materials. Under equitable outcomes and systems for all students, Objective 2 is about identifying disparities in academic outcomes. Wait, did I skip one? Sorry, it's Objective 3. Is about identifying disparities in academic outcomes and implementing research-based education models and systems to reduce those disparities. High-quality instructional materials have a significant impact on our ability to do that work, including influencing and supporting teachers' instructional decision-making and keeping with high-leverage instructional models. Under rigorous and engaging academics, Objective 1 is about delivering a guaranteed and viable curriculum that provides each student with the authentic opportunity to meet Oregon grade level and content standards. Not only are high-quality instructional materials essential to accomplishing this district goal, the process of selecting and implementing new curriculum provides essential opportunities for job-embedded, standards-based professional development. Under rigorous and engaging academics, Objective 2 is about delivering relevant learning that centers student strengths to develop transferable skills. High-quality instructional materials have a significant impact on standards of practice and are focused on student success in areas such as critical thinking, communication, and collaboration. Under rigorous and engaging academics, Objective 3 is about robust opportunities for self-discovery that affirm and support students' strengths, identity, interests, and passions through multiple pathways. High-quality instructional materials help remove barriers and opportunity gaps for students to take advanced courses. By now, you may be asking why I'm spending so much time on this. In 2021-22, only 21% of 8th graders in Greater Albany Public Schools met grade level expectations on the state math assessment. Stated another way, nearly 4 out of 5 students in 8th grade did not meet grade level expectations in math. Students in our district are struggling on the state math assessment in all grade levels. As this chart shows, only 19% of our students in 11th grade met the state math assessment grade level expectations. This slide is taken directly from the Oregon Department of Education profile of our district accountability details. It shows that economically disadvantaged students, English learners, and students with disabilities in Greater Albany Public Schools all fared worse on state math assessments than our district's overall average in grades 3 through 5. Oh, The same is true in middle school, as this shows. And the same is true in high school. Some of our elementary and middle schools have been using iReady math assessments to get better information on where their students are struggling in math. This graph shows how 1,618 students from these schools in our district compare with national norms from pre-COVID and from this year. We have approximately double the percentage of students 3 or more grade levels below in math than other schools using iReady around the nation this year. This is another more detailed chart from iReady that shows our students' growth from fall to winter within 4 math domains. Greater Albany students who completed both assessments are showing growth in all domains at every grade level. There are several areas where our students are growing significantly higher than national performance would predict, as you can see by the darkest turquoise here. Our students are capable. Our teachers are capable. This uneven growth points to issues with our curriculum. So what are the priorities of our adoption teams? This is the vision statement that teachers on our math adoption team crafted. Part of what makes it remarkable is that K-5 and 612 teachers were creating separate vision statements at separate meetings, and their processes naturally took them to nearly identical statements. So much so that we easily ended up with one combined statement, K-12, that they all agreed on. In Greater Albany Public Schools, math instructional experiences will foster student agency by valuing student voice and compelling students to be active participants in their learning, reinforcing the idea that all students are capable of learning. Engage students in authentic problem-solving, sense-making, and real-world application of math that are accessible to students and families from all backgrounds and ability levels, including core instruction, interventions, and extensions, and provide daily opportunities for students to engage with rigorous material aligned to grade level standards by balancing conceptual understanding, number sense, and procedural fluency, providing opportunities for mathematical discourse that is meaningful to students, emphasizing productive struggle and perseverance, and supporting students in discovering connections and patterns between mathematical concepts. Our high school language arts team also crafted a vision statement. At Greater Albany Public Schools, we want our students to think critically and strategically to address real-world problems and function effectively in a global society through the development of strong literacy skills. We believe that reading, writing, speaking, and listening are essential in developing responsible, resilient, and self-motivated learners. We will provide students with materials and experiences that are engaging, authentic, and representative of multiple perspectives and cultures in order to support our students in becoming joyous, creative, and curious. These vision statements are a touchstone in our process while we review the options and work toward a decision or recommendation to the board. As stated earlier, the next steps will be a public comment and referring the proposed adoptions to the board. I'd like to thank all of our adoption team members for their time and dedication to this process. Our program specialists are all teachers on special assignment who have been vital to this work. Kirsten Aldrich is our math program specialist. Bree Zika is our language arts program specialist. We've also gotten support from our social studies program specialist, June Morris, our science program specialist, Laura Sachs O'Brien, our instructional technology program specialist, Dan Rothwell, and our AVID program specialist and former math teacher, Stephanie Rivago. Instructional coaches and building administrators have supported this year's process and the implementation of the materials we adopted last year. Elementary Director Sue Luthra, Secondary Director Stafford Boyd, and Assistant Superintendent Lisa Harlan have been supportive thought partners throughout the process as well. After schools present, I've noted that the board often asks what they can do to help. I appreciate your attentiveness to this presentation. I know it was long. I hope you participate in the public review of our committee's recommendations. I expect to have some of the adoption team members join me at the next board meeting, and I hope you will ask thoughtful questions. I hope you end up supporting the committee's recommendations. I need your support to purchase high-quality instructional materials. I also need your support in realizing that I am one of many who are doing far more work than is reasonable to ask one person. It is exhausting and unsustainable. What has been getting me through are the teams that I work with. The teachers on curriculum committees, those working as instructional coaches, those working as program specialists, those helping rewrite our plan for talented and gifted services, those growing our bilingual education programs, are amazing, dedicated individuals who believe in the goals of our district's strategic plan. My fellow administrators in the curriculum, instruction, and assessment department are also amazing, dedicated individuals who are doing everything they can to further the goals of our district's strategic plan. I need your decision-making to be based on that district strategic plan. I need it to be transparent, and I need stability on these teams. As I stated at the beginning of my slides tonight, I've been involved with the work of this district for over 2 decades, 14 of that as an employee. My work has always been motivated by collaborating with others to make our schools more equitable and inclusive. It is not without risk to myself that I say the decisions made tonight have rattled my confidence and made my job harder, and I know I'm not alone in feeling that way. And if you will not reconsider these decisions, I hope you will consider what is needed for healing and for moving forward as a district. Thank you.
Any questions?
Will you be setting up, when we select the textbooks, a way for us to go through and review them again like we did, I think, was it language
Last year.
arts? Yeah.
It'll be very similar. We're moving just slightly slower. I don't know that it'll be before spring break. It'll probably be the week after spring break. I've scheduled some times at the district office, already reserved a room for people to come over and look. As Superintendent Gardner mentioned, our space is in flux right now at Grand Prairie, so it'll be at the district office instead. We'll also have Padlets that have information for all the online resources for everyone to see.
Excellent. Yeah, because I'd really like to take a look at those. I found it very instructive last time. It was good.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for all your hard work and your team. Very much appreciated and look forward to being able to look at it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, L, bond business. South Albany High School CFU roof construction. Our speakers are Dave and Mr. Hamilton.
Good evening, Chair and Board. In your packet, there was a recommendation to award construction for South Albany High School CFU roofing project to, I mentioned Anderson Construction, for the amount of $1,349,403. In that board packet was also a project budget that was being proposed to support that project overall. And the amount of that budget was $1,806,500, and that was presented for your action for award.
So is that every roof at South Albany?
It finishes the remaining roofs at South Albany High. Yes.
When were the other ones done?
I'm sorry, what?
When were the previous roofs completed?
I believe 2021.
This number is a surprisingly low number. I think we had talked about this being even over 2 million. So maybe the market's softening a little bit. That's a good number.
It was a very promising number.
Now, Michael and I have done a lot of roofs. We've probably done 25 roofs. Every single roof, they need another $500,000 for. Every roof. How's our Kentucky windage on this?
Yeah. Every roofing project does reveal additional work. We've built that into the price. We have unit pricing that came with the bid, and we have contingency to cover those dollars as well. So we're expecting to cover undiscovered things that we'll do for the roofing work.
Thank you, Skip.
Yep.
Any more questions, or do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move to award the South Albany High School roofing project to Anderson Roofing Co. Incorporated for the amount not to exceed $1,349,403.
I second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, next up, M, new business, school calendar, 2023-24. Heather.
I wasn't expecting to speak tonight, but I can. This is the proposed school calendar. There isn't typically a great deal of change in it in terms of holidays, and the start of school is the start of school. You have the state in-service day in October. What is typically most discussed is what happens in November with conferences, and your grading work day, staff development day prior to conferences, and the day that staff could then take off for working 2 evenings. It's my understanding, Andy, I think this was reviewed at AIM with the associations, and all are on board to adopt this as the calendar.
And this is just new business, so we're just initially looking at it now. We're not voting on it tonight, correct?
I think that's an action item, isn't it?
I think that's correct.
Yeah. So for the purposes of planning for families, right, and that we can get ahead, it is okay as an action item. The contracts call for a committee that would work on this. Pulling that together was going to be difficult, so we took that through our DLT large, which includes principals and central administrators. We arrived at several options for November. We decided to go with this. We shared that with both union leaders, and it is in alignment for Christmas break with Corvallis, which I think has, whenever we're off, that creates problems for families that commute. And so we think we've done the homework, and this can be adopted so we can move forward.
And the contact days with teachers and students are the same as they are this year, so that has not changed? Okay.
Okay, if we're looking for a motion, do I hear a motion?
I move to approve the 2023-24 school calendar recommendation by staff as presented.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, next is M2, Maple Lawn Intergovernmental Agreement. Andy?
So this is a shift in the agreement with the city of Albany. They had 3 years ago signed an agreement with us that would term out after 3 years, and they were going to move away from this. They have a different funding base than us. It has not coincided with a good budget situation for us. But what it is, we already support it, and so this shift is only a marginal increase in the cost, and so we are proposing to continue to carry that. This is not a huge number within the total budget, but it would, if we were to simply drop away 80 plus preschool slots in this city, and that is a significant number of preschool slots.
So this is an increase in cost, though.
Yeah, but most of those costs exist now, right? And so there is a shift to a more management of it. The city has been doing that. We have 2 partnerships with the city. The other is the pool at South Albany High School, and we are facing a refurbishment there as the owners of the property of the hot tub. And the city has been awarded a grant through their efforts that we believe will handle that cost, and that won't come to us either. And so, again, it's just one of many ways that we are partners with the city of Albany. They cannot give us this building. This building is theirs for, I think, all time.
Yeah.
So we will continue to have a partnership with them.
This also is a new business. Is there a reason we're doing the motion now instead of, I mean, normally new business, it sits there and then the next meeting we do something on things. Here we have two that are doing differently.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the Maple Lawn intergovernmental agreement as presented.
Mr. Chair, I have discussion.
Okay, Eric, go ahead.
So my question, so if you break out that amount, that's $5,156 per student for preschool?
So our preschool promise students are 10,000, right? They are very expensive.
I send my son to private school for $5,000 a year though, full time.
I can get you the numbers on that, but
Generally,
this is a better deal than the preschool promise class.
$36,000 in rent to the city for the building?
Peter has spoken with me, and they are going to examine that, as per your question.
I'm sorry, I haven't.
Peter Trozen, the city manager, we are going to get together to discuss that.
He's going to reassess that?
Yes.
Okay. Would they be interested in us purchasing the building from them?
I think the way they received it, it is a hard and fast gift to the city, and it is theirs.
I think it's over 100 years old of their ownership. So there are options of ownership at that point, as long as we still use it for a reason, a park or preschool.
I can ask him about that too.
Okay. I would like to postpone this to the next meeting if there's why we get some of those questions answered from the city.
So what I would ask though, since we are going to have to start registering kids, we are going to begin to proceed, and I would hope that we would not have something that would break it, because when we begin to have people start signing up, that could be problematic.
You can postpone it, but the likelihood of you getting a better deal is not very high, and the deal we have is a lot better than no deal at all.
Yeah, and I have a lot of faith and trust in the city administrator. Kim Lydane in Parks and Rec has been very supportive and willing, and I do not see this being a gotcha. I think we can work with him.
Yeah, just preschool being not in our legal purview or the cities, it would be nice to make some more mutual a deal with them. Just like we said, it's not in our actual budget, but we can seek grant money for it.
Yeah.
I believe the city's doing us a favor, and the city was ready to just hold to the original 3-year plan, and we asked one more year, right? I mean, isn't that how? So the city's kind of going a little bit farther to meet us halfway. But we both have the interest in those 80 slots.
So I guess, so that gives me a little more clarity. So another year and then things are going to change again?
So there is perhaps another incremental thing that will further increase, but it is not, we are now talking about steps up like COLAs, right? So it's not something that would be a $200,000 undertaking, and then next year it would be $500,000. It would be, say, 200 to 240, something like that. So, but we will face those sort of costs with all of our staff increasing.
If there's not a second to the motion, I'll
I
withdraw.
second the motion.
No further?
I do have. I worry about the fiscal creep of this when it's not in our purview, and I'm just concerned. I mean, we certainly want to take care of have the preschool students taken care of, but it's really not in our business plan, if you will, to use terms I'm familiar with. And so I question if we should be doing this long term. I understand we have a short term problem and a long term problem. I think we need to have some discussions on that and decide what we're going to spend our money on and how we're going to educate the students that we've been chartered to take care of. And so I just want to make sure that we have that discussion and that we come to a decision as a community on how we want to spend our money and where we want to spend it.
I don't disagree. I think that this will be something that we'll have to continue to weigh as we go forward. The early learning division of the state of Oregon there's higher education, there's K-12, and then there is the early learning division. Most of their program occurs through us. In other words, we are moving somewhat into early learning, even though it is a separate entity in the government, but they come through us to do this work. And so, and we have 2 of these that are outside of early learning that we do on our own. And we find we can have greater efficiency per child with that footprint as opposed to the early learning preschool promise classrooms. And we have several of those.
Okay.
Isn't there ways, we have 2 empty schools that are temporarily being used. Isn't there ways though to contract the same employees in our own buildings and avoid overhead of rent?
So several years ago, when the early learning division really set itself up separately, they had there were many school districts that had set up different preschool models in their buildings. There was a huge fight because the early learning division said, here's the requirements and what you must pay for each preschool, how you must staff it, those sort of things. And the people who had existing programs were all of a sudden going to face doubling of cost. And so they were allowed to grandfather in that sort of preschool, but new programs had to meet their requirements. And so the idea that we could all of a sudden start something up, we're going to have to follow a model.
Have we looked at options like partnering with the Boys and Girls Club or the YMCA for the $500,000 a year that this program costs? Maybe we could expand.
We have not. That would be something to pursue, but we have not at this time.
Any more discussion?
I think we've had a motion and a second.
Yeah.
She can just call for the vote.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Reluctantly.
Aye. I really do want us to look at this, though.
Sure.
I know. Any opposed?
I'll vote for it, but as Dr. Morse said, please, we need to look at
Sure. I think the other thing that would be important in this is just giving the community adequate notice about any decision that we would make. So this came,
Agreed.
And it was just kind of
I agree,
dropped on us.
and I think that's where we came to where we are on this vote.
Yep.
Okay, and future agenda items, other business, and do I have an motion for P?
I move to adjourn the meeting.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?